What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is Wednesday, which of course means it's time for another West York Wednesday here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today once again comes from the Big Ditch Brewing Company, and they are out of Buffalo, New York, and this is their Bourbon Barrel Aged Aqueduct, and this is the rare variant, and it is the 2024 release. So this is an Imperial Stout aged in a single 15-year Heaven Hill malt whiskey barrel. It comes in at 10.5% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review, I don't know exactly how old this bottle is, but it was released on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I'm reviewing this one about a week and a half later. So I'll say that this bottle is approximately 2 weeks old, give or take a couple of days. So speaking of the day before Thanksgiving, that typically known as Thanksgiving Eve to a lot of people out there. However, for Big Ditch, it is known as Stoutsgiving, and that's because they have an annual beer release where they typically release, you guessed it, a bunch of stouts every single year. This year, they released 3 different of these Aqueduct beers, the Rare, the Reserve, and the Double Barrel variant. They also released a couple beers in their Mudlark series, which is an Imperial Pastry Stout series. They released the Almond Joy variant and the Cinnamon Bun variant, and they also released a wheat wine. They usually throw in a non-stout release. Those were the only beers they released as packaged beers in either cans or bottles or cans. They released a couple others on draft. Now, I, unfortunately, was only able to get my hands on the 3 Aqueduct beers. The 2 Mudlark beers, along with the wheat wine, were sold out on their website. I picked up all 3 of the Aqueduct beers at one of my favorite local bottle shops of choice, brewed and bottled in Lewiston, New York. Shout out to Chris and everybody over there. I figured I would be able to support 2 different local businesses, Big Ditch with their beer, and then buying it from Chris. And yeah, I succeeded, and I'm very happy about it. So I thought I would review this one first. Why? Well, around Thanksgiving, what do we got going on when it comes to beer? We got on Black Friday, Goose Island's Bourbon County brand stout release. And, you know, they usually release the base along with a couple variants and then, you know, some Chicago area only variants and harder to get ones and whatnot. This year, they did Rare Day instead of Prop Day in Chicago, and Rare is only in the Chicago area. You couldn't get it outside of that. So considering that there's probably a 99.9% chance I am not getting that beer and or reviewing it, I thought that I would review the Rare version from Big Ditch. They have a little spiel on the back that we'll hopefully remember to read at the end. But yeah, this is basically Big Imperial Stout aged in a single 15-year Heaven Hill malt whiskey barrel. So even though it's Bourbon Barrel Aged Aqueduct, it's Whiskey Barrel Aged Aqueduct. Crack it open. The only thing I will say for the Big Ditch beers, and I get it, but they just have the black bottle cap. It's kind of a shame. I wish it was, you know, had the Big Ditch logo or something. Anyway, we're going to pour into the hashtag proper glassware and see what we got going on here. So it's not pouring out all that thick and viscous. Little glug glug going on. We'll do something like that. But all of the Aqueducts I've had to date have been pretty good. So I'm going to show you, well, I'm going to show you in the hashtag proper glassware because, you know, we got the Big Ditch glass, the Tiku here, the smaller Tiku. And I would say as far as a big, you know, barrel-aged Imperial Stout goes, that looks fantastic in the glass. But you probably want to be able to see the beer a little bit better. So yeah, this is pitch black in the glass. It's pouring out as more of a darker brown. Hold up to light. It is still pretty dark, like a very dark brown. Little bit of a bottom here. This is where I'll usually say, oh, it looks like root beer, Dr. Pepper, cola. Not really. She has like a lighter brown here, but for the most part, it looks really nice. Had about a finger, and now is about 3/4 finger of this infinitely creamy with straight up brown colored head. It looks beautiful, almost like a caramel colored head. It looks really nice. So yeah, plays the role of what I'm looking for out of a barrel-aged stout of some sort. Let's get a nose. Yeah, the spirit is there big time. All that malt character, the malt character mixing in with the whiskey. Wow. Tons of caramelized sugar. Like, I'm talking like big caramel and toffee, like really strong caramel and toffee. Molasses. But the spirit is there again, and some of those caramelized sugars be coming from the whiskey itself. The barrel itself, I'm not really getting like a big oak vanilla thing. It's more of that caramelized sugar. But this beer is very roasty, almost borderline like on char. Yeah, it has a really deeply roasted kind of malt character. There's a little bit of like a dark chocolate. A touch of like a coffee roast. And I'm getting something that reminds me of like leather and or tobacco. That is, those two specific tasting notes in like big barrel-aged Imperial Stouts or Imperial Stouts as a whole, I really don't get. But here I'm getting it. You could say leather, tobacco, but it just has that like... Yeah, if you've ever like smelled leather or like pipe tobacco, if you had, like I think I had I want to say it was an uncle. Only a couple times, but he used to smoke a pipe, and like it kind of has that like aromatics of me like walking in the room as he was doing that. I was very young though. Yeah, for sure. Like a little bit of tobacco, a little bit of leather. A very small touch of like an umami kind of like soy saucy thing, very slight. It smells it smells very complex, right? Like over the top complexity. The barrel itself is giving me more of the spirit as opposed to the barrel. And I think I like that, but I do wish there was a little bit more of like a vanilla oaky thing going on. It smells really, really good. Doesn't smell boozy at all. Like it smells like a bigger beer for sure. Anyway, I want to get into it. Cheers, everybody. Hang on. I was going to cheers you, but then hang on. A little bit of dark fruit. A little bit of like a dark grape into like a cherry. Yeah, wow. This. I can see why they called it rare. Anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Wow, that's incredibly smooth going down. Okay, so, 2 sips in. This is an extremely complex beer. It's also quite delicious. But on top of that, it's somehow boozy, even with like a little bit of an ethanol feel on it, while still being smooth. And that sounds so stupid. It does. Like when I just said that, I was trying to compute it. I'm like, you're saying it's like real boozy and like almost like slightly astringent from the ethanol, but you're saying it's smooth? Yeah, I am. I don't know why. Let's go back in. Body mouthfeel. Body on this one for 10.5%. Appropriate. I'd say medium full body. It's not thick, it's not chewy, it's not super viscous, but it has enough viscosity to say, okay, 10.5%, I could see it. If I was doing a blind, I'd guess around 10%. So I think it's not thin. It's also not over the top. And that's kind of Big Dish as a whole. A lot of their bodies of their beers, especially the big like Aqueduct, and then like I reviewed some of their towpaths in the past, not usually over the top with the viscosity. So I think it's appropriate for the ABV and the style. It's just not, if you're going into this thing, you're going to chew the beer. No, you're not going to, but it's appropriate. The mouthfeel, it has a nice carbonation actually, like approaching moderate into moderate carbonation. It has a crispness on the palate too, on the finish. Like a very crisp beer. Still somehow smooth, very smooth like I said, and not really creamy. It's not soft, but it's smooth on the palate. And that's kind of, if I'm drinking a big barrel-aged beer, I want a smoothness to it. I want something that's going to be a little bit easier to drink from a body and mouthfeel standpoint. I think this kind of plays the role. The taste, this is going to take me a while. It's going to be a longer review for sure. Up front, the first thing that hits the tip of the tongue for me is this huge, roasty, almost charred malt character. It could be like a little bit charring from the barrel. I have no idea, but it's very roasty and toasty up front. And that's kind of with me. It's omnipresent. It has just this nice roasty quality to it. Right after that, dark chocolate, for sure. almost has a little bit of like a fudgy thing going on, like a dark chocolate fudge, if you like something in that realm, where it has a bit of a sweeter kind of dark chocolate vibe. There's a touch of like a lightly roasted coffee, but you know, that could be kind of blending in with the roastiness as a whole. That dark fruit, dark grape, cherry, maybe even a little figgy plum thing going on. That's underlying. Like, no, at no point into the predominant note, but definitely noticeable on the palate. But then it transitions to this big caramelized sugar. I'm talking right up front, toffee, caramel, molasses in that order. Touch of brown sugar, very rich and decadent from the caramelized sugar up front. Maybe in like a situation like vanilla, which could be coming from the barrel, which I didn't get anything in the nose. Yeah, I think it is from the barrel because right after I just took that last sip, the vanilla transitioned into an oak, kind of like slight oak tannin quality that kind of lingers on the finish. The barrel, I think, is just kind of accentuating. It could be a part of that caramelized sugar. And then that leathery tobacco thing is the finish. So it's oak tannin dryness with a leathery tobacco kind of finish. It really dries out this beer. This is like semi to full-on dry. Mild to moderate bitterness. But that oak tannin dryness and perceived like leather tobacco thing is really the lingering finish of this beer. Man, this is a sipping beer because it's so complex, but I think I could probably tear this out. You see, I'm drinking quite a bit of this. I didn't even mention when I was looking at the beer, but there are some nice alcohol legs on here. Not sheets, but definitely legs. You can see it's a bigger beer as it coats the sides of the glass. It's so easy to drink. And I said that like kind of like a stringent ethanol thing kind of hit me on the first couple sips. That is dissipating. I think it was just my palate adjusting to the 10.5%. Because as I continue to drink on it, it's boozy to some degree. Like this is a boozy beer, but it's not astringent. So it's still, you know, you can notice the alcohol, big warming in my chest. On the palate's there a little bit. But I think it's actually kind of imposing itself on the palate in a way which kind of affects the dryness. I think it's kind of propping up the dryness a little bit. Really nice. This is quite delicious. I'm trying to think of 2 ratings here in my mind. As I continue to drink on it, like the complexity is starting to fade because it's starting to become a very cohesive beer, which is a good thing. But then it's kind of blending into just like one solid flavor of just like a really delicious Imperial Stout. Nothing wrong with that. But it's not like setting itself apart from the crowd. It's just, it's Big Ditch. This is what Big Ditch does with their beers as a whole. Like I always call them one of the more consistent breweries in Buffalo. And I've had some people tell me that they don't think that personally. Like they think, you know, Big Ditch, it can be hit or miss with some of their batches of beers and some of their releases and whatnot. For the most part, the things that I've reviewed on my channel, they do a good job with. It's very rare I get a beer from Big Ditch that I just absolutely lose my shit over and give it, you know, 5 out of 5 and go nuts. But this is kind of the quality I expect from them. You're not breaking the bank for a lot of their beers, especially like their regular year-round seasonals and rotating offerings. And when they release something like this, usually you can get your hands on it, and it's just usually quality through and through, and that's kind of what this beer is. Here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. I think for something called rare, I would want this to be a little bit more of a special beer, and I don't think it's like super special from what I'm drinking, but it's fucking really tasty. So it's like, you know, whatever. It's semantics, right? One more sip. Yeah, it's rich, it's decadent, it has a sweetness to it, but that really nice dryness, like almost firm dryness on the finish, mild to moderate bitterness. The barrel breaks up the monotony of all that sweet caramelized sugar and the malt character at the forefront. That leather tobacco vibe I get on the finish really helps kind of prop this one up a little bit, and also makes it a little bit more unique and kind of sets it apart from some of the other stuff they've had. But I just don't think, like, for me personally, like I'm losing my shit over this one. But that's the beauty about beer. You don't have to absolutely go crazy and just like, you know, there's beers where I just kind of, in my reviews, just kind of black out, for lack of a better term, and just this is amazing beer or whatever. This is a really good, delicious beer. If they still have this on their website, or you can get it at the aforementioned Brewed and Bottled or somewhere in the Buffalo area, I would definitely seek it out to give it a go. How does this compare to Rare from Goose Island? I have no idea. You know what I mean? I'm probably never going to have that chance. So I think this is really well done. It's just not, blowing my socks off. But we're going to still give it a good rating. So the Bourbon Barrel Aged Aqueduct, the rare variant, the 2024 release, I have absolutely zero issues whatsoever giving this a high 4.25 and go 4.3. I think that's where this one lands. I think this is a really delicious whiskey barrel aged Imperial Stout, basically, that you can't go wrong with. I've had better in their Aqueduct and Towpath line in the past, but this is still really good, and I highly recommend it to anybody out there in the Buffalo area that wants to try something out that I think you would enjoy if you like these types of beers. So yeah, I would say this is a damn solid 4.3 out of 5. And I can't wait to review the Reserve and Double Barrel. I'm going to try to review them over the course of the winter and get into them. I got to do a better job of when I pick up these special beers around Black Friday, whether it's the Bourbon County line, stuff from Big Ditch, or other stuff I pick up. I got to review them. I can't just sit them, throw them in my cellar and be like, oh, I'll get to them. Because I have all the Aqueducts from last year, basically, that I didn't review. Maybe I'll review some of them in the winter and into spring. We'll see. But yeah, check this one out if you're in the Buffalo area. Now, price point availability. At the brewery, $16 a bottle. I paid $17 at Brewed and Bottled. And again, I thought it was a great compromise to not only support a local business in Chris's store, but also a local business in Big Ditch. So I grabbed them at Brewed and Bottled. And plus, it's a little bit easier to go to Brewed and Bottled than it is downtown New York to pick up the beers. If they would have had the Mudlarks and or the wheat wine, I probably would have went to the Big Dish location. But again, kill two birds with one stone. And again, I try to support Chris as much as I can, but also support Big Ditch. I want to see both companies thrive nowadays, and I think that was a good compromise. And again, 16 or 17 bucks for a 16.9 fluid ounce bottle. You're talking around $1 an ounce or a little bit less. I think for a beer like this, I gave it 4.3. The fact they're using a rare barrel like that, yeah, all day, every day, it's definitely worth it. And then availability, pretty sure you could only get these at Big Ditch or some bottle shops in and around the Buffalo area. Outside of that, I don't think you can get your hands on them. So if you're in, I think they get to PA, some surrounding states at this point, you're not going to see this. You're not going to see the Mudlarks. You're probably not going to see the wheat wine. So you got to be in New York State, more specifically in the West New York area, to grab their stuff. So if you are local and you've had this one before, whether it is prior releases, because they did a rare last year, I got it in my cellar, or you had this one this year, whether it's on tap, you had a bottle of it, let me know what you think about it. If you can't get your hands on Big Dish, let's say you're in Texas or California or in the Pacific Northwest, would you try this one out? Is this as good as Rare from Bourbon County from Goose Island? I have no idea. People have been raving about that beer this year. That is 18%, non 10.5. But I wanted to review a rare beer of some sort, and I have succeeded. So that was Big Ditch's Bourbon Barrel Aged Aqueduct, the rare variant, the 2024 release. I give it a 4.3 out of 5. Really good. Nice warming in my chest as we speak. Like I said, the astringency on the palate kind of dissipated after a couple sips. It now just has a booziness on the palate that really isn't astringent. It doesn't really have even that like ethanol kind of vibe. Oh yeah, I got to read the back. Let's make this even longer. It says, Erie Canal aqueducts were designed, I think this is kind of the same spiel they have most of these aqueducts. Erie Canal aqueducts were designed to carry canal towpaths over adjacent rivers and roads. This rare version of our barrel-aged Imperial Stout was aged in a single 15-year Heaven Hill malt whiskey barrel before bottling by hand. The result provides strong spirit. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where the spirit ended and the rest of the beer began, but I definitely got more of the barrel and some of the spirit for sure. Toffee, yes, and tobacco notes. I said more of leather / tobacco, but I could see it. Notes to our rich and roasty stout for sure. So yeah, I think I did a pretty good job. Speaking on tasting notes, I pretty much got everything they got. And it says, made from the best ingredients available and crafted with just the right balance of art and science, Big Ditch beers are innovative, flavorful, and drinkable. I totally agree with that. So good job by Big Ditch. If they see this review, 2 thumbs up. Matt, Corey, the guys over there that are doing great things at Big Ditch. You guys did a great job with this one. I can't wait to get in the rest of them. So I'm going to shut this one down. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.